Welcome everybody to CluedInsight 2025. My name is Tim Ward. I have the pleasure of providing the opening keynotes today, and of course, the pleasure of running the CluedIn team. We are joined today by customers, by partners, by the extended CluedIn community, our friends at Microsoft, and so much more. We'll be sharing great customer cases today. We'll be sharing success from partners. We'll, of course, have a plethora of great product demonstrations from our engineering team, and very much looking forward to some of the other sessions we have today. It's a pleasure to be joined by you, the audience, full of practitioners, full of data architects, full of customers, partners, and so much more. And we'll make sure today is very special for you. We've got great sessions for all different types of audiences. So thank you once again for being here. As I alluded to, it's my pleasure to be providing the opening keynotes for today at our inaugural CluedInsight event. Something I look forward to continuing year after year with you, the audience. Let's first of all start off by taking a look into the kind of wider market, into the industry that we're all in. And I think without any real surprise, we would probably all agree that we are living in pretty exciting times when it comes to technology. And it's really across the board. Of course, artificial intelligence has changed the way that we all think about the way that we do work today and will continue to work in the future. There are new levels of scale and performance that we all have at our fingertips. And this is driving huge amounts of automation. We've also got essentially the extension of our own capabilities and team members, bringing on agents to be able to research, to be able to automate, to be able to do a lot of that brute force groundwork where we are at the center of it, playing that often final role in critiquing and approving essentially what these agents are automating for us. We are seeing, and we are, I guess, one of the players that are really excited to see this immense growth in federation, more parts of the business playing a role in the supply chain of data. At heart, we see that as one of CluedIn's main missions is to bring together the business and IT and build this harmony that is necessary to have a great foundation of data in place. So we are not without a surplus of amazing technology surrounding us, continuously getting better, almost on a daily, if not weekly basis. I have the luxury of spending a lot of time with our customers. I spend majority of my time actually speaking with the executives at some of the largest businesses in the world, some of which you will actually hear from today, sharing their success with CluedIn. And a common theme that we talk about in these discussions is, with all of this technology, it is accelerating, if not exacerbating, the necessity to have a good foundation of data in place. Agents, AI, large language models are only speeding up the need for us to, all as companies, small, medium, and large, to make sure that we are building our future off a foundation that is not rocky. And this is really, I guess, at the heart of CluedIn's mission, is to be able to provide critical capabilities in building that level of foundation that provides businesses with an almost pristine level of data, easy to access and ready for insight. It's not only AI that is exacerbated by this, it is the initiatives we are all in the middle of already, business intelligence, reporting, automation through RPA. These are all initiatives where data and making sure that it's pristine and trusted is just at the key of the operational success in these situations. Without a doubt, one of the things that we are seeing here at CluedIn is an immense focus on companies putting their enterprise data to work. You may have seen this explained differently and across different audiences, whether that was making sure your data is ready for AI, ready for insight. These are just some of the ways that we see that companies are wanting to put this somewhat historical surplus of data to use. And I think we all have high ambitions that there is beauty and there is insight that is buried in this data. It's about being able to harness that at scale. Now, of course, what this will mean is that AI will be brought into all different types of use cases. We are seeing an acceleration on all initiatives and how they can be aided by large language models and AI. And finally, for us, it's one of the key things about providing data ready for insight that's trusted is about empowering you in giving and bringing this almost superhuman capabilities that AI is and will continue to bring to make sure that's built on a bedrock of data that you can trust where it came from and what happened to it in its journey to delivering that insight that we are all striving for. So I think we can all agree we've all put huge investments into technology already. In fact, the majority of us have already invested in putting together good team members in engineering and IT. We've got the best data scientists, the best data engineers. We have invested in lakes and lake houses, in cloud, in multi-cloud. We've already, many of us, invested a lot into AI and business intelligence and reporting and automation. Yet, one of the common themes that I talk about with our customers is that kind of feeling of what's missing. And it turns out the answer is not necessarily more technology. In fact, one of the big pieces that companies really are attacking to solve when they take on a master data management and data quality initiative is really about how we actually bring a different type of persona into the supply chain of data. And it's a really about bringing in the domain experts and having them play their role of responsibility, but bringing in their own IP they know of working in the lines of business and somehow implanting that into the data as it proliferates throughout the business. Now, it turns out we're not the only ones that have put recognition in the need for the business and IT to come together in this overall foundation of data. In fact, a plethora of analysts in the space all come to the same rough agreement that typically, bringing the business and IT together has resulted in complexity and in many cases in failure. At CluedIn, we are really happy to know that we are playing a key role in also turning this statistic on its head. And you'll be hearing from some of the success of our customers later on in the sessions today. Very much looking forward to especially hearing from Sega and their case of how they've used AI to solve what could probably be described as impossible using traditional approaches. Now, at CluedIn, we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary, which also means that we've been exposed in a way to hands-on experience working in building these types of initiatives with our customers. And, MDM and data quality is not a new practice. It's been something that's been around for some time. And, through this, our team has built up a level of expertise on what traditionally made putting in these foundations of data management quite complex. And of course, there's always a plethora of reasons. But essentially, if we look at the core themes, there is a level of somewhat irony and overlap of the same types of complexities of why we have recently seen an innovation in the data warehousing space over the last few years as well, where we saw an influx of new providers like Snowflake and Databricks and Redshift and BigQuery and, of course, Microsoft Fabric take a very different approach to how we did what we would call quote unquote data warehousing. And this saw an abundance of new patterns and approaches, and one of those being the lakehouse. And it's somewhat ironic that the same challenges there were the same challenges that traditionally made MDM and data quality projects hard to achieve success. If I was to highlight a couple of those today, number one, it would be the idea of complex and upfront data modeling. The somewhat complex challenge of trying to fit an enterprise's worth data into a predefined set of structures. This is what made data warehousing in the traditional sense quite hard to achieve, and also led to a couple of complexities around agility and flexibility, the ability to change and adapt to kind of the natural entropy that happens in all businesses, small, medium, and large. What this also resulted in is a slow time to market, where often we were stuck in these modeling phases of projects trying to figure out what that perfect customer would look like, or that perfect product or vendor or supplier. Not only that, but to mention how they related to each other as well. All of this often meant that it was quite a long time before we actually had any data at the end actually providing value to the business. You can probably then understand why a lot of these initiatives made their way back into IT and engineering teams, because the challenge was complex. In fact, it required a lot of ETL integration, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And we traditionally did that with ETL tools. We transformed this data with the plethora of tooling that was at our fingertips. It was not a surprise then that often these projects didn't lead to success, because we were foregoing one of the core reasons why we invested in this technology in the first place. We actually wanted the non-technical audience, the business, the domain experts, the lines of business. We wanted them to play a role in data. The fact that these systems were often more technical and required coding and scripting and complex data modeling more than often meant these projects got handed back to IT and engineering. All of this, you can imagine, led to the kind of failure rates that we saw in the past. But there's actually one overall theme that trumps all of this. In the end, it was really being about tying these initiatives back to some overall business value. Why are we cleaning our data? Why are we enforcing standards? Why are we enriching the data? Why are we actually bringing the business in for them to play their role in the supply chain of data? So in the end, the solution was very much about bridging this harmony between the business, the ones that often are the ones creating that data in the first place, the domain experts that know those customers, they know those vendors, but they're not necessarily experts in data themselves. They don't know how to do some of the critical capabilities we still need IT and engineering to be involved with. And the solution was less about technology, but just bridging that harmony. Well, at CluedIn, we strongly believe we have taken a different approach to this challenge, something very analogous to what we've seen in the evolution of data warehousing. And at the end of the day, we are also a strong believer in the MDM and data quality solution provider that really cracks the use of AI whether that's large language models, small language models, or really wherever that evolves in the industry. We believe the one vendor that really cracks the use of that in the supply chain of data management will be a standout leader in this market. This belief not only comes from where we see the market going, but also from being really the longest MDM vendor running in production with large language models and the new generation of AI that we're all privy to today. In fact, CluedIn was the first to market with its use of large language models. This was back when Azure OpenAI was released many years ago. And AI is one of those technologies where you learn and evolve by using it. To sit back and try to predict what it will do and where it will go really seems like the wrong approach with this particular technology. That's not always the case. In some cases, maybe different types of databases, maybe it is the right thing to sit back and see how it evolves. AI is such a big movement and such a quantum leap in technology. We saw it important to really get involved as early as possible. This meant that we could run these workloads in production with our customers and learn with them what were the types of guardrails that needed to be put in place to get these things in production. Was it sovereignty? Was it privacy? Was it speed? Was it quality of large language models? Was it the cost efficiency? And all of this has helped CluedIn get to the point today where we really see ourselves leading with AI in the MDM and data quality space. So this was then followed up about 9 months later, where CluedIn was the first MDM and data quality provider to the market with its Copilot. This Copilot still today is one of our, I guess, favorite functionalities from our end users of CluedIn. It really is that Copilot, that buddy that is helping me do my daily tasks and crack down complexities into something that's just simpler to utilize. I've seen, I think one of my favorite parts about the Copilot is seeing our end users' reactions to use it, where, you know, very much like what you probably experience with using things like Copilot or ChatGPT or other chat interfaces, you do have these moments where it feels pretty amazing what this technology can bring. Then last October in 2024, CluedIn was first to market once again with its virtual agents. You'll be seeing a lot more of this from our product engineering group today, but this hands down is my favorite part of the CluedIn platform. It scales many different parts that were traditionally done, I would argue, improbable or impossible to solve some challenges with data quality. So very much looking forward to continuing that innovation with the use of AI in CluedIn. And what this has brought on, in our opinion, is very clearly a different era of data management. One that is built on the bedrock of how AI can be used to augment and aid, accelerate, and potentially in some cases also automate processes that before were somewhat the tedious and complex parts of putting a good foundation of data in place. So today I am more than happy to announce that CluedIn very much is built on a core of artificial intelligence and bringing in those principles that really were complex about solving these challenges before. You saw before I alluded to those complexities of what happened with traditionally taking a technology approach to this problem. And CluedIn is built on this bedrock of agility and flexibility, making sure it's simple to get started with, and that our end users, those domain experts that aren't technical, that don't know how to script, don't know how to code, and let's be honest, we don't want them in the supply chain of data for those reasons. We need them because they know something about the business that no large language model in the world would ever know. So making sure that it's really 100% focused on the business outcomes and being used by end business users as well. That enterprise readiness comes from offering all different types of solutions, such as our SaaS solution, our managed service, built on the shoulders of giants and cloud ready from a scalability, performance, and security perspective as well. So we really at CluedIn will be focusing on making sure we are leading with AI, and also bringing that innovation our customers have come to expect from us, to make sure that when there is new technology available, that CluedIn is there integrating and making sure that is available to you as well. Recent examples that we've announced our integration using an MCP server so that we can talk cross agents, whether that's services like Teams or Slack or Dropbox, or even bringing your own agents. CluedIn can interact with that ecosystem of smart agents that are built to do, very specific types of tasks. So let's dive in and talk about really our ethos here at CluedIn. We here at CluedIn have an ethos that MDM and data quality is really about being able to bring the business in. We think that in IT and engineering, we have a plethora of amazing tools, some of which you'll be hearing from our friends from Microsoft later in the sessions today, to build integration pipelines, to scale, to integrate into different networks, to be secure, to be reliable and robust as data moves throughout the business. For analytics, for reporting, for building custom co-pilots, these are all things that we have amazing technology to do from an IT and engineering perspective today. Where we see the biggest gap is how do we bring the actual business, those that work in the sales, the marketing, the HR teams, and bring them into the supply chain of data somewhere to solve a couple of key things. Number one, and what I think is most important, to instill a level of responsibility on the data. They are the experts. More often than not, they created the data, they maintained it, they versioned it, they've written their own reports off it. They're the ones that really understand the nuance of the data. It's so important to offer them a conduit without asking them to be technical, without asking them to create data models, without asking them to, learn what was traditionally required of them in a lot of this technology. This is really where CluedIn is putting a lot of its focus to make sure that usability, that experience is fantastic to bring those personas in. Now, in saying that, I am, happy to say that CluedIn still has all the critical capabilities that you would expect from a data quality and a master data management system. We depend on this technology to help us bring the humans into the loop. And whether that is to help standardize data, enrich data, whether it's to build up audit trails as data changes throughout the business, whether it's to be that engine of automation that proliferates beautiful, clean data to upstream operational systems, to run your automation from an RPA perspective, and whether it's to deliver data through a workflow process that puts the right guardrails in place to achieve a certain level of predictability and auditability in our data management practices. But very much CluedIn takes a different approach to this challenge. And the best analogy I can bring to the audience is very similar to what we've seen in the data warehousing space. Whereas I guess what may be considered the traditional approach to that today was to build large enterprise data models, to try get some level of agreement and consistency across the business of what we wanted things to look like, and then try to fit your world today and for the foreseeable future into that predefined structure. At CluedIn, we believe this approach did not scale. In fact, it often started out quite good. and it really felt like we were making progress without too much complexity and cognitive load. But very, very quickly, we realized as things change, our ability to also change with it, with that approach, did not come. And this is why we've seen the evolution happen in the data warehousing space. At CluedIn, we very much see ourselves as taking this very similar type of evolution where an MDM system so much more focused on flexibility and agility and adapting to change and not trying to fit all kind of your squares into a round hole, but with AI at the center that is used to augment, to be a buddy through the co-pilot, and to scale some of the challenges that traditionally were the monotonous and tedious parts of trying to get this data foundation in place. So let me be the first one to say that there's a lot of choice in technology today. We've all seen these large logo slides of different data management platforms to be able to help with essentially the same type of end goal. We want our data to be easy to access. We want it to easy to use. We want it to be ready for insight. We want it to scale, all of these different pieces. So then what makes CluedIn different in its approach, and why might it be a fantastic fit for you in building your data foundation as well? Let's start with what I still today think is the key uniqueness of CluedIn, and that is its zero upfront modeling. The idea is simple. Instead of trying to predefine what your customers look like, what your products look like, and how they fit together, let's take a little bit more of a multi-step approach to it. Instead of trying to enforce schema and structure and validity on data as close to the left as possible, let's actually make that process a little bit more of an evolution as well. What naturally comes from this is a lot less cognitive load in actually breaking down the silos of your business, and also the luxury of onboarding of new data sources is a quite simple process. Adapting to change and the entropy within a business is almost a daily occurrence that's made simple with this zero upfront modeling approach. We've actually seen the same simplicity happen in platforms like Microsoft Fabric and Databricks, Snowflake, to name a few, where it's okay to represent data differently. It's okay to have many representations of your customers for different use cases. And this is very much CluedIn's approach to MDM as well. We're so much more interested in semantic models instead of data models at this point. We see both as necessary, but as different parts of the supply chain of data. What's the output of this? Well, the output is a focus on progression instead of perfection. That actually we can get data out in formats much quicker than trying to somehow have this big bang approach to, at some point, maybe 6 months in the future, all our customer data will click together. And with our 10 plus years of experience running CluedIn, but also the team's surplus of experience across other technologies, we clearly see this as the absolute best approach to being able to build a good and scalable data foundation. Now, I mentioned our Copilot before. CluedIn was the first to market with its integration to Azure OpenAI and its Copilot. And since then, the Copilot has become smarter and more cost efficient and provides more skill sets inside that can help an end user solve their task within the CluedIn platform. We really see this as one of the key parts of CluedIn's future. In fact, we see different workflows for where AI will play a role. We will have agents to be able to do a lot of background constant work for us. We will have our Copilot, which will have that human to large language model interactivity, where We can discuss challenges, we can discuss approaches to solving challenges, but we still need that human in the loop to make the final decisions. We also see our automated AI rules being used to automate prompts across large bulk amounts of data in real time. And so these are the kind of three approaches that we are focusing on here at CluedIn, and we'll be continuing our R&D and innovation in as well. Today, still, this is one of our customers' favorite features because of those smile moments. For example, I'll never forget about 2 months after the release of our Copilot, one of our customers wrote a rule that said, I need to tag all companies or customers that are in a Nordic country. And the fact that the engine was smart enough not to say where the country equals Nordic, but would extrapolate that out into Denmark or Iceland or Sweden and so forth, was one of those small moments where we realized this is really about bridging the human with the CluedIn capabilities with the generic knowledge of the large language models. And just examples like this have just continued since then. You will see big advances coming in the Copilot throughout this year, including much more visual approaches to describing challenges. You'll see the Copilot in our recent release has become a lot more proactive, actually kind of guiding you through, there's some things you could do on this page to make this data more relevant, more valuable, more enriched. And these are just some ways that reach outside the normal I would say guardrails of the Copilot, where we're actually starting to see the Copilot in CluedIn be much more proactive instead of reactive. This brings me to my favorite functionality of the CluedIn platform. Last October, CluedIn released its virtual agents, and these are essentially extensions of your own team. We built this at CluedIn based off a reality that we saw not only in those in their MDM and data quality projects, but also those in the motion of starting the projects as well. They hadn't purchased technology yet for it, but they were building up the practices and the teams and the policies around it. Well, one of the challenges that we saw was the fact that there were never enough hands on deck. And those were to define the policies, to find the issues. And of course, technology can help us with that. But we very much saw it as a theme of why certain people were delaying their MDM data governance and data quality initiatives, projects just in general. Based off this is exactly how we designed our agentic framework within CluedIn. We based them off real personas, real roles and responsibilities we saw within these projects, like data stewards, like governance managers, like data auditors, those that solved data mapping and onboarding, those that were good at finding duplicate records, those that were good at enrichment. And we designed and released our agent templates and personified them in a way that felt like those agents were actually in the project with you. The way that we thought about this is we wanted our customers at CluedIn to go into their MDM initiatives knowing that they had an extended team of the smartest, most intelligent individuals joining their projects that speak all different types of languages and know all about history and know about all topics and continuously getting smarter and easier to operate on a regular basis. So this is really how we designed our agents to be always on, working 24/7, where you can provide these agents with essentially a job description of what type of data can they get access to, what kind of operations can they do on that data, what tasks do they have. And by switching these on and running in the background, effectively it gave this feeling of excitement of waking up in the morning and seeing what the agent had found. And once again, we've had these moments with our customers that have been in the private preview of this, have these very amazing kind of just smile moments where everybody in the call would kind of have these moments of there's no way it's going to find that, or there is no data quality issues with that data. There's nothing. To only then have these agents surface some pretty amazing moments. For example, I remember one of our customers um, uh, working with country data was adamant, and I would say everybody from the CluedIn team was also adamant that there's no data quality issues there, don't even bother. But what we found the agent would surface was data where we had companies registered against a country that hasn't existed in 150 years. And, that country code looks correct. It's in the right format. And you can see these agents are starting to pick up these different types of challenges that just traditional techniques cannot pick up. In addition to this, the cost economics work. Why? Because CluedIn has shipped with large language models inside of the CluedIn platform itself. You can, of course, and have always been able to bring your own large language models, whether they're hosted or even custom ones that you've hosted maybe within Azure AI Foundry. And we've just extended this pluggability to bring all different types of models. So now these agents can run off open source models completely inside of the CluedIn environment. And for this, we bring an absolute zero cost use of these large language models. And for me, this makes the agents so much more cost efficient and viable to be running 24/7. They use the compute that's already available inside of your CluedIn cluster. And this just solves for me that part of the challenge. In addition to this, it brings up all types of privacy pros that we can guarantee this data doesn't leave the actual network environment. In fact, I'm often hear our engineers saying you could pull the internet from these boxes and these large language models and agents would still work. And for me, that is very important for our customers today and in the future in highly regulated environments and industries. So this, for me, I think I can't wait to get more of these agents into our customers' hands. But for those already on it and utilizing it, the best way they describe it is they just have these moments where they smile, and very much looking forward to innovating more and more in this space as well. Now, it turns out we're not the only ones that are of the belief that we are leading in this AI space. So not only was it about being first, it was about really bringing that level of guardrails and ability to run AI loads in production. That was one of our key ethos when investing in AI was not AI for AI's sake, or not AI for technical demonstrations' sake. We needed to make sure that customers were running this in production privately, securely. They felt confident in the way that we built the workflow approval processes around the audit trails, the ability to roll back, the ability to explain what the large language models are coming back with. You can also see here from our January the guide from Gartner that they also are a strong believer that CluedIn is leading in this space as well. Now, last year, we put a lot of effort into increasing our support for building great processes. And for those of you who have been using CluedIn and the new workflow engine integration, we've had amazing feedback on the ability to plumb in and integrate into right now over 1,000 different systems, whether that's for alerting, notifying, whether it's for actual writing back to operational systems, whether it's for potentially complex approval processes with escalations. Having this was really part of that foundation backbone of making sure that as CluedIn integrates more use of AI in the data management processes, that there was still that deterministic predictability around making sure it went through the right channels before it was actually put into production. And that changes coming from AI or suggestions was actually put into the process to have that great backbone of workflow there. We will continue to invest in this for one main reason: federation. At CluedIn, we strongly believe that there are a couple of key interfaces or consoles that people will be using for the next few years. Email, of course, is still there. Things like Teams and Messengers are still there. Things like your phone, WhatsApp, Messenger, things like that, that is still one of the interfaces. And then, of course, now there is the Copilot and the ChatGPT style consoles as well. We see those as the main places of actually work. And therefore, it's very important that CluedIn plays a key role in integrating with those interfaces. So you'll be hearing from Sega, a very nostalgic brand for I'm sure a lot of the audience later, on how they cracked this federation piece of farming the responsibility of data out into these channels with beautiful interfaces to be able to say, here's the problem, here's why you are being asked, here's the supposed suggested solution, here's the explanation on why we think this should happen, here's the impact analysis of what this change will do. By the way, if you need to learn more about where this data came from and why you're being involved, click through to here to. That was all about the federation. Having that workflow to be available on all different types of channels was key to us. Some of the innovations I alluded to in regards to the MCP server, integrating into things like Microsoft Copilot Studio and Power Platform, also really puts us into that network of really being able to chat and be everywhere in those key interfaces that people work with on a daily basis. Now, something we've always kind of held true to CluedIn is being built on the shoulders of giants. And, CluedIn is in a little bit of a luxury in that in a space that is quite traditional, master data management and data quality, where we've had a lot of solutions out there from a lot of different vendors for a plethora of years. It's quite often surprising to me to come back and realize that but something like Microsoft Azure, the cloud provider, has actually only been released for the last roughly 15 years, a little bit less. And because of that, I think with CluedIn celebrating its 10th anniversary just recently, just by proxy of that, it allowed CluedIn to almost be born when the cloud was somewhat mature. When kind of, I guess, the industry decided on how do we scale, how do we provide services instead of everyone bringing their own services? How do we secure from one place? How do we kind of get the leverage and benefit from those shoulders in making these environments more secure, more cost efficient on a regular basis? And because of this is passed on to our customers and our partners, this cost efficiency. So there have been some recent research and product development that we've done at CluedIn to make it even more cost efficient and economically viable to solve some of these data foundation challenges, either in your own environment with our managed service or PaaS solution, or of course, we're seeing a big uptick in our SaaS solutions. Both of these are available across 51 different regions, which is also something that stands out from a CluedIn perspective as well. Today, we have integrations into majority of Microsoft Azure services, and this number continues to grow. This year alone, we've been happy to release our Microsoft Fabric workload, our open mirroring support for Fabric, Recently, our integration to Copilot Studio, so you can use CluedIn directly from your Copilot. Our MCP server, which allows our agents to talk to all other different types of agents across the Microsoft ecosystem, the Google ecosystem, and even your own custom agents as well. In addition to this, we have continued our integration into Microsoft Purview to make sure that we are always playing our role and responsibility of writing back the who, the what, the when, the where, the why into that one estate, so that you can really see that cross-cloud end-to-end data estate with Microsoft Purview. Interesting to note that the majority of our customers today are on Microsoft Purview, and we are seeing a big influx of customers moving towards Microsoft Fabric as well. At CluedIn, our promise will be that we will continue to make sure that in that Microsoft ecosystem that you are very comfortable and it feels like a native experience. That is a continuation that we will double down, if not triple down on as well. Now, one of the things that I often hear is and discuss with executives from our customers and companies outside of our customers as well is, at the end of the day, these technologies and these initiatives all have to be bound to some type of business value, usually something either top line or bottom line. And we are feeling in the majority of cases, it's much more about the bottom line in that streamlining operational efficiencies. In fact, it's amazing how moving customers into an operational MDM system and away from passing around Excel sheets in email attachments is one of the first obvious but refreshing wins that the majority of our customers gain. We are seeing a lot of uptick in use cases around ERP migrations. And so we're doing a lot of work to make sure that we can streamline integrations around SAP, Microsoft Dynamics, just to name a few. So this is why we've also taken this different approach to MDM, something that actually allows you to prove value very quickly and take an agile approach to delivery versus a big bang approach. We are a strong believer, and this shines through in our product as well, on progression over perfection. I would rather get something out within 2 weeks that's not complete, that shows a sign of an end-to-end flow, and then every week come back and make small but incremental wins, predictable. We would much rather that approach than crossing our fingers that in 6 months it will somehow all come together. And we just think this is built in a way for a modern need. And that entropy is what we're seeing in a lot of customers, especially with the pace that technology is coming out as well. So let's finish up these keynotes and let's get on to these sessions. I know that our friends at Sega are eager to tell their story and very much looking forward after this keynotes to head to talk with Felix, the head of data from Sega, about their use case. But where is all of this innovation and direction going to be taking us? Well, like I alluded to before, I don't have to be the one that tells you this. We're all experiencing it ourselves, but just the pace of change and what's possible today is 10 times ahead or 10 steps ahead of where most of us have even started to look at yet. The majority of us are still in the days of taking the luxuries of co-pilots and even good old automation. We see it as our responsibility at CluedIn to make sure that we keep you at that precipice of where the technology is the most valuable. That's why we've invested in things like our agents, like our MCP server, and so much more. The truth is, we are, if not already experiencing it, we are just about to, even more so, witness the fastest change in the way we work, how we work, what we spend our time on, and where we add value in this supply chain as well. I, just like yourself, probably witnessed examples over the last few years, and even happening more so over the last few months, where it's very clear that uh, we are all, in a way, being augmented with extra skill sets that typically would take many years, if not many decades, to actually evolve. And so, where we're seeing this happen and how we'll make sure that you, the CluedIn audience, is brought along on that journey is number one, it's very obvious that all of us as practitioners very soon will be given skills that just require years of experience. Um, the ones that we've already seen happening with our customers is the skill sets you would usually expect out of a data engineer or a data scientist, a software engineer, suddenly are getting closer to being packaged up in a way that will make all of us engineers. The domain experts that work in the lines of business really have these superpowers that will allow them to do things traditionally we would have had to hand to IT and engineering. And at CluedIn, we are very excited about being in the middle of this, considering that master data management and data quality was always about bridging the business and IT. Because of that, our customers that have adopted the use of AI in CluedIn are moving in the paradigm of responsibility. They are focusing much more on decision making and less on the actual groundwork itself, less on putting validation, building business rules, cleaning data, finding duplicate records, building matching rules, all of these things that are at the heart of a deterministic MDM and data quality system, and moving much more towards the decisions that are made around that. Asking agents and AI to do a lot of that groundwork and research of, here's the data, what would you do? What would you come back with? And our agents really are, in our exposure, the kind of final piece of the puzzle there, providing the different types of workflows. Agents definitely don't remove the need for a co-pilot. They don't remove the need for automatic AI prompts. They complete that picture. We're also going to be seeing a lot more use of virtual agents to do a lot of this groundwork and act as an extension of the team. And we're already seeing this with some of our agents that can find data quality issues, that can suggest validation and data quality rules, that can enforce policies on data, that can find breaches in policies, that are extremely good at finding duplicate data without matching rules. And all of this will be multiplied by the fact that agents can talk and work with other agents. The MCP server is one of the first, but definitely not the last, framework of how agents will work with other agents. Now at CluedIn, our agents can already talk with each other, and think of MCP as a way of bridging into other platforms as well. You could imagine agents available from Microsoft Purview or Microsoft Fabric interacting with agents inside of CluedIn to be able to build that strategy of, okay, so what data do we need? Do you have it all tracked under all of the regulations? Okay, so what do we need to do to clean it? Who needs to be involved? You can imagine them already putting that plan together of attack, and of course involving automation, sometimes augmentation, and sometimes, of course, needing to involve finally that domain expert to put their rubber stamp of approval on that data. Now, of course, from this, we think federation will just continue to bloom. We think because there are these key channels that we all work on as individuals. For me, myself, it's email, it'll be some type of co-pilot, it'll be my messaging system, and it'll be my phone. And they're all different ways that I communicate with other people and to get my tasks done. And so the key at CluedIn will to be in those places, to not be another tool that you need to head into, but more surface the responsibility of what's the problem, who needs to be involved, and then have the AI almost generate all of the groundwork that's needed for that person to make that decision without the cognitive load. And for this, making sure we are available in the right way in those tools is where we will be putting our R&D at CluedIn. In addition to this, I think what we will see in the market is this will help us as businesses adapt to change. As new regulation will naturally evolve continuously as we continue to use this type of technology and rely on data. Being able to have agents that can adapt to that, that can augment the foundation to be compliant and pass all our audits and regulatory requirements as companies, this will actually get better and easier. What's important is that we bridge the heuristic with the deterministic. In that, still at the end of the day, what's so important is that our businesses run off guarantees, not it might work sometimes and might not work the other times. And for us, this is the goal at CluedIn, is to bridge the deterministic nature of CluedIn, the predictable nature of CluedIn, with almost the intelligence and heuristic intelligence of these large language models. For that, visibility and transparency will be absolutely key. And CluedIn will play a role in this supply chain. It's important that we are part of a bigger picture and a bigger ecosystem. This is why we integrate with tools like Microsoft Purview, Microsoft Fabric, and others outside of the Microsoft ecosystem as well, to make sure we are playing our role in that supply chain of data, to provide the trust, to provide the lineage, to provide the audit trail and the capabilities that we can bridge the business and IT together. With that in mind, I wish you a fantastic CluedInsight 2025. I'm going to now head over and have a chat with Felix from Sega, and I will see you throughout the day, but look forward to you joining me in those sessions.